Hi there. So the goal today with Barry is I'm going to get him outside, give him a clean. I'm going to see if I can charge the battery and see if it will run as it did previously run 3 or 4 years ago. So we'll see if that's still the case. And then we're going to start stripping him. This is going to be an interesting day today, as we'll start to see the shape of the bike and start to see some of the underlying conditions that it has. But don't get ahead of myself. So, job one, move these bloody bikes out of the way. Take Barry outside, give him a wash, dry him down, get him in, see if we can get the battery on charge, chuck some fuel in him and see if we can bring life to the old dog. So, let's get these bikes moved. I'm puffed out now. Right, let's get him clean. So now he's outside in the daylight. Let's have another look around him. This is the first time I've seen him properly, actually. And I have to say, it's not that bad, really. I'm not too upset. I mean, once that fairing's gone and the subframe's removed, we're spitting distance away. My God, he's ugly. Right. Let's give Barry a wash. So, is it clean? Well, it's cleaner. It's cleaner, and it was nice to get to know the bike a little bit more, let's say intimately. Is it in worse condition than I thought? No. Surprisingly, for 40 years old, I mean, not to say for the internals of the motorcycle, they might be well and truly fucked. But surface-wise, with what I'm going to remove and what I've got left, it's not the biggest job. But I do need a whiteboard on this wall to keep track of what I'm doing. So now that's been washed, more or less, it has left mud on my garage floor. So it's made its mark. Now it's washed, I will let it dry, sit and dry for a bit. I'm going to stick the battery on charge, hopefully put some life in it. It's one of those frustrating projects that I wish I had just 10 grand now to throw at it, but I don't. But at least we're starting this job on a beautiful autumn morning and we're ready to get going. What I will be doing, for anybody that's interested, I will be putting all of the panniers up for sale, all the plastics and the wheels, but I'll give them a good clean, so they will be up for sale at some point, if anybody's interested in them. If anyone wants to put one back to factory concours condition, that will be possible. So right, let's get him inside, let's plug him in and put the battery on charge, hopefully. I've had a little bit of a change of heart. So before I whip off that front fairing, I'm going to take the battery out and put the battery on the bench to see if it really is dead, because I'm not convinced. Well, I am convinced it's dead, but I want to make sure that it's connected properly and I've given it a fighting chance of being a serviceable battery. Right, let's get going. So I'll give you a little show under the seat before I take it off. They are certainly not engineered like this anymore. The pin's popping out there. Could make it a little bit easier to get out. So we'll take the seat off, we'll take this box off, and then the battery should be relatively simple to get to. So that was quite interesting. The battery's out, and you can see the state of that in there. Looking very sad and old, but I didn't expect. So the tray that was sat above the battery, this tray here, has got the ECU. slid into it, and I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, it's no worse than what I had expected it to be. Let's put the battery on charge on the bench and see if that does anything, and continue the strip. So the battery's plugged in, or the tending is wired up. Let me show you here. So that's plugged in. Let's pop this into here, see what we've got. And it says 0 again. We'll leave it for a bit and see what happens. After a little bit of dicking about, the back end of the bike is off, which you can see a little bit here. In a way, quite shocking, surprising, I suppose. It's actually built very well. Much better than modern bikes. In fact, the 1250 GS had a circlip recall on the pegs, because the circlips are made of balsa wood and twiglets, whereas the circlips on this bike are certainly not, and have held up the test of time for 40 years. So whilst we're paying infinitely more for our bikes, they're made of shit. Now I've got the back end off. The rust is no more worse than I thought it would be. Bit of a wire brush, frankly, would clean most of that up. But yeah, this bike has just been put together so well. Let me show you where we are. So there's the back end, and I'd undone these two bolts here, and it was loose, and I just thought, how the hell? It was pivoting at the back, and I was being a bloody moron, and I couldn't figure it out. And there's a panel over that square there, which was so well fitted, it didn't look like a panel. All the rear wiring was just one big clip, which was super nice. That one there, and here we are with the back end off. Like I said, that's not terrible. So next we'll pop off that mud guard, and then we'll take off the luggage racks, and then that's the kind of back end stripped really for now. I'll leave the exhaust on and the suspension on, I suppose, on the off chance that I get the thing started, just to keep the back end square, and then we'll head towards the front. Two things that I knew would be a godsend, which are currently proving to be, is this little inspection lamp and a broken office chair to sit on as a workshop stool. It's nice to do some real work, I can tell you that much for nothing. Anyway, onwards and upwards. So I've just been out for a blast on the Ducati, and I went and got a battery. I'm not going to fire the bike up because I think that could be more problems than it's worth, but I will see if it's got power. So I'll chuck that on now, and then I'll show you if it springs into life. Let's be having it. The moment of truth. It's alive! And now we're getting somewhere. The front fairing is off. I like that a lot. 2 horns. Cool. And there we go. The mounting for everything else is off. We are slowly exposing the motorbike this might dare to be. Exciting time. So it's the end of the first day. And we've made some good progress. So the back end is off 99%, apart from the rails for the luggage. Front fairing's off, the seat's off, the battery's out. We put a new battery in so we know there's power, or at least the wiring harness works. For whatever that's worth, because I'm going to replace the harness anyway. But it's interesting that we're looking at the bike. I can see I can see something different than what I thought I saw. I thought I saw your typical sort of cafe racer, but I'm sitting here, and I'll show you in a second, and I can see a scrambler. Maybe that's the way to go. We've got a way long way to go. The challenge is because most of this is going to get chucked. 90% of the bike's going in the bin. So I'm taking it apart way more carefully than I need to. But I don't think that's too of a bad thing. Not for the first project. And I went to see Fred today, and we spoke about the engine and stuff that we could do and stuff that he could do, and some of the order that I need to do stuff in. Because a lot of this is out of my comfort zone. I don't know a lot of this stuff. Ironically, I would say an aeroplane's a bit simpler. But I will say this bike has been made very, very well. So, we'll come back tomorrow morning. We'll strip a little bit more off. Front mud guard. Take the pegs off. Maybe take some of the ancillary items away. And then we'll be about there. But I've enjoyed this. Today's been a good day. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow. I left you last night with a beer, and today I join you with a Mummy Elf cup of coffee. So I did a couple more jobs after I stopped filming yesterday, which is always the temptation with this type of project, and I will show you where we're at. Some good progress. I think if I step out the way, you can see that the cowl's gone, or the fairing's gone, sorry. The clocks have gone. Yeah, so the plan today is just a little bit of a job really today. I'm going to take the front mud guard off and whip the tank off, and depending on how I get on, I'll take the pegs off as well. Now I've just been editing the footage from yesterday, and firstly, if you could hit subscribe, that would be appreciated if you've got this far. Any support you can offer would be amazing. And secondly, this is a challenge from a filming perspective for me. I'm not a cinematographer. Really, I hear you cry. So as I go through this project, I'm assuming it will get better. But at the start of this project, where it's just sort of bits and bobs of whipping stuff off and just cracking on with a lot of boring work and trying to figure out what to do next, it doesn't make for the most inspiring viewing. And I'm not Ed China or anybody else. So I'll give you a little walk around the bike now, and we'll crack on with the next bits. So as I mentioned, there we can see all the fairing off and the clocks off. The fairing is down there. Interesting big old lump this for the clocks. Big old heavy thing, which is very nice. What I did find quite amusing is the rubber on this. It's like the rubber they used to put on cars, on the interior. But yes, so the seats off. What I am noticing actually, when the bike's sat up on its centre stand, it's a little bit on the wonk. It's neither here nor there. But I mentioned on yesterday, I can see a scrambler, or like an FTR. It's got a hint of that about it. But it's certainly a very different bike naked. But we've made some good progress. I think with the tank off, we can really see the state of the top end of the frame. See how minging that is. Get this lot off, and then I'll need to think about getting a lift to take the weight off, so I can get the forks out and get the back end off. But good progress. Right, I best crack on. And there she is. Interesting. Yeah, there's one line I had to cut, and I had to cut that line. I mean, it's all getting replaced anyway, so it's neither here nor there. There was a tiny dribble of fuel in it. And the underside of the tank is immaculate, really. Oh, there's a bit of filler there. Bit of rust. But yeah, there we go. I would love, when we rewire it, to try and put the harness through the frame. But that is future Ross's problem. I've just been sat here looking at various bits and thinking various thoughts, and I spotted this. And I was like, what the hell is that? It's a handle for lifting it onto the centre stand. It's bloody genius. Oh. Anyway, onwards and upwards. I'm going to do the last job for today, which is just to take off this mudguard. Just here. I'm going to take that off. And that'll be that. That does leave the pegs on and the racking for the panniers. But we've made good progress, so I'm okay. Right, let's whip that off. Actually, it's not a bad weather day. It's not the nicest day as it was yesterday, but I want to get my GS out and go for a bit of a blast. So whilst it's not pissing down, we'll take advantage of that. Because over the next weeks and months, I'll be spending more than enough time in here. Right, let's get the mudguard off. We have a mudguard. Now, I've never really thought about mudguards particularly in my life, but we can assume that that mudguard's not been off in 40 years. And the bolts and the nuts that was held on by came straight off. Not so sure either of my bikes in 40 years time, if you went to take the front mudguard off, it would come off so easily. But let me take you down and show you where we are. I really ought to take those back bits off, but I just can't be arsed at the moment. Oh. I'm interested to know what caused that. I mean, it's a mark. It's more like a rubbing mark than a score. Crazy tyres. I mean, they're immaculate. They've got loads of tread left. So that's me, I think, for the day, really. This video will be finished edited today and it will go up next Sunday. But you're watching it on this Sunday. That makes sense. And, yeah. I'm away overseas next week for 4 days. And then I need to really crack on. So, my next jobs are, I do need a lift. I need to take the weight of this engine up off the wheels so I can get the shocks out, take the wiring harness out, unbolt the frame. Fred's got a guy for me that said he will do, he can do new headstock, so I think I would copy the geometry of the Monster and just take the rake from that and put it on that, is my gut feeling. So I need to understand how much that's going to cost to get that chopped. Oh, and also I need to put all these bits up for sale or free for collection, should anybody want them. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this update. I hope you stick along for the ride, and let's bring Barry into the 21st century. Cheers.